Okay, so this is another interesting thread to our history and our heritage. This concerns the Philippine Revolution. Now, even before the Peace Treaty of Paris, which formally ended the Spanish-American War, was signed, America was stumbling headfirst into a guerrilla war in the Philippines. Yep, that's right. America kicked the Spanish out of the Philippines, ending 300 plus years of Spain's oppressive colonial rule. And how were we repaid? Well, the Philippines did not want to be annexed by the United States. They wanted their own independence. So, how did the U.S. go from liberators to occupiers and cause the Filipinos to begin a guerrilla war with the United States of America? Now, the fighting in Cuba was basically over. Dewey's fleet was in Manila Bay. The Spanish fleet was in ruins. The U.S. Army was sending an expeditionary force to take the Philippines. Now, the Spanish decided to arm the local Filipinos to defend the mother country, meaning Spain, from the American invaders. Now, the Spanish forces still occupied the city of Manila at that time. Now, what did the local Filipinos do? They turned on the Spaniards. Go figure. Now, Admiral Dewey, seeing an opportunity, sent for Emilio Aguinaldo. He was the exiled revolutionary leader of the Philippine independence movement. Now, Dewey got Aguinaldo out of Hong Kong and set him up as the leader of the revolution. They started arming the rebels with captured Spanish arms from the Cavite naval base. Yeah, insult to injury on that one. Now, by June, Filipino forces had taken control of most of the islands. The rebels were slowly closing the ring around Manila. Aguinaldo started to negotiate surrender terms with the Spanish general in Manila. Now, the government back in Spain would not surrender to a group of ragtag peasant farmers. Spanish honor was at stake. They would not allow such an event to take place. In the meantime, the first troops of the American Expeditionary Force arrived at Cavite Naval Base. It was shaping up to be a bloody battle for Manila with a massive loss of life. Now, Major General Wesley Merritt, the commander of the American Army in the Philippines, was prepared to attack Manila even though it would be a bloody, costly battle. Fortunately, Admiral Dewey had an alternative plan. Now, through a neutral emissary, Dewey developed a plan to effect the surrender of Manila without any loss of life. It was a brilliant plan. Here's what happens. The Spanish governor, Fermín Jardines, agreed to surrender the city, but only after a mock battle was fought. His honor and the honor of Spain demanded that Spanish forces surrender to the American forces. Okay, the plan was simple. Each side would fire over the heads of the other side, and after a proper amount of time, Dewey would hoist the signal DWHB, meaning "Do you surrender?" Whereupon, the Spanish would hoist a white flag, and Manila would formally surrender to the U.S. forces. Now, part of the plan, the Americans were to make sure the Filipino rebels would not attack Manila during this fake battle. Now, August 13, 1898, the plan was put into action. Unfortunately, some people did not get the memo. 6 Americans and 49 Spaniards died during this mock battle. Now, with their honor satisfied, the Spanish surrendered Manila. A side note here, European powers were taking an interest in the Philippines at this time. Back in June, the Imperial German Navy arrived in Manila Bay to protect German business interests. By the end of June, the German fleet consisted of 4 cruisers and 1 gunboat hanging around in Manila Harbor, making a nuisance of themselves. The Germans had more naval power than was needed to protect German business interests. Now, Dewey settled the issue. Just before the mock battle, when German Admiral Diedrich sent his representative to complain to Admiral Dewey about the Americans harassing the German ships. Dewey became aggravated, to say the least. So Dewey responded in no uncertain terms. If you want a war with the United States, I want to know it. You can have war here at any time. We are ready. Well, the Germans backed off. So, the Philippines were freed from Spain and everybody was happy. Not quite. The day after the Mark Battle, August 14th, American forces established the United States military government of the Philippine Islands. This did not sit well with the Filipinos. Tensions between Filipino rebels and the American army were on the rise. Now, the Treaty of Paris, which was signed December 10, 1898, officially ending the war with Spain, gave America full control over the Philippines. Side note here, Filipinos weren't invited to that negotiations. There was one problem. See, that guy, Admiral Dewey, got out of exile in Hong Kong and brought to the Philippines to take command of the rebels. Well, he had other ideas. Now, Emilio Aguinaldo was a Filipino revolutionary statesman and military leader. He had led the rebellion against Spain long before the Spanish-American War. He wanted full and complete independence for his people. 1 month after the signing of the peace treaty, President McKinley stated in his executive order of January 20th, 1899, "It is my desire that in all their relations with the inhabitants of the islands, the commissioners exercise due respect for all the ideals, customs, and institutions of the tribes and races which compose the population, emphasizing upon all occasions that the just and beneficent intentions of the government of the United States. It is also my wish and with expectation that the commissioners may be received in a manner due to the honored and authorized representatives of the American Republic, duly commissioned on account of their knowledge, skill, and integrity as bearers of goodwill, the protection and the richest blessings of a liberating rather than a conquering nation." Now, the very next day, January 21st, 1899, Aguinaldo declared the first Philippine Republic, establishing himself as, you guessed it, the dictator. Now, General Otis, the new commander of the American forces, seeing the rising tensions, began to enlarge his perimeter around Manila. Then, on February 4th, 1899, 4 Filipino soldiers refused to answer the challenge of an American sentry. Shots were fired, and soon the U.S. Army, acting on prearranged plans, began to attack rebel positions encircling the capital city. Now, with America's overwhelming firepower, they drove the Filipino troops away from the city, and Aguinaldo's government had to constantly move from one place to another as the military situation escalated. Now, this is considered the official start of the American-Philippine War. It would last from February 4th, 1899 until July 2nd, 1902. However, that is a video for another day. Now, with the chain of islands across the Pacific, Hawaii, Midway, Guam, and the Philippines under American control, the country could project its economic and military power onto the Asian mainland. So, the age of imperialism had arrived. However, this is also a video for another day. Now the question I have, did we have a choice to become an imperial power? That's one of the questions. Here's some more. What would have happened to the Philippines if America had not annexed the islands? Now, before you answer yes to that question, you need to understand the world situation during that time period. Okay, so what would have happened to the Philippines if America had not annexed the islands, but instead withdrew and let the Philippines govern themselves? Now, I'm not taking sides here. I'm just asking these questions. Could the Philippines have maintained their independence? Could America have guaranteed Philippine independence without annexation? Okay, so here's the situation. Germany and Japan were building their own Pacific empires. Now, Japan's rule over Korea was anything but benevolent. It would be even worse during the occupation of China. Now, Germany's rule over their Pacific Rim colonies was not as harsh as the other European colonial powers, but they were still a colonizing power. Now, the Dutch had colonized the East Indies in the 1600s, and their rule of the natives there was not really one of respect and kindness. Now, the British were in Singapore and Malaya. The French were in Indochina. Any one of these countries could have tried to colonize the Philippines. Again, I am not justifying the American colonization of the Philippines. However, to believe that the Philippines could have remained independent if we did not annex the island is idealistic at best and naive at worst. Japan or any one of the European colonial powers would have rushed right in and colonized the island if we had withdrawn. Okay, now here's another question. Then what? Would America send troops to restore Philippine sovereignty? That would have meant a war against Japan or any one of the European colonial powers. Or would the U.S. turn its back on the Philippines and say, not our problem. All we wanted to do was defeat the Spanish. What would have happened then to the people of the Philippines? See, it's not as cut and dried as you would think. So, what part did you find interesting? Now let me know in the comment section below, or if you have any questions about the subject or you'd like to start a discussion about the annexation of the Philippines. Hey, it would also be great if you shared this video with your friends who are also interested in history. Well, I hope you liked this video. Now, if you did and you want to support my channel, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell. This way you'll be notified when I post new and interesting stories from our past. Also, if you could leave a comment, that would be fantastic. That boosts the algorithm and gets my stories out there to other people on YouTube. Anyways, thank you for watching.